Hello, everybody. David Schuster here. In the Trump administration, you could say the chickens are coming home to roost, and it's not good. In the wake of the Trump tariffs and economic turmoil, now there is this.
Welcome back. We have breaking news right now. We're getting the GDP in for the first quarter, and it is a contraction, negative 0.3%. This is the first contraction since the first quarter of 2022. Markets this morning have reversed. The Dow Industrials right now down 115 points on this contraction.
Wall Street analysts had expected GDP, or gross domestic product, to grow slightly in the first quarter, so the loss is a big deal. It also means that if the second quarter of GDP contracts, the United States under Trump will officially be in a recession.
The first read on the first quarter GDP is, in fact, a contraction, down 0.3% versus an estimate of up 0.3%. First contraction since first quarter 2022. Markets reversing, down at the lows of the day, down 139 right now.
On social media, Trump flipped out, writing, "This is Biden's stock market, not Trump's. I didn't take over until January 20th. Tariffs will soon start kicking in, and companies are starting to move into the USA in record numbers." It is true that tariffs are kicking in, but Trump's claim about companies moving to the U.S. in record numbers is a lie, and that's according to the government's own data. Still, Trump economic advisor Peter Navarro took to the business channels and claimed, "Good news."
So we really like where we're at now.
Navarro is the same Trump staffer who claimed right after the tariffs were announced this.
So we're going to run 90 deals in 90 days is possible.
After more than 20 days, the Trump administration still has 0 deals. None. The lack of credibility in the Trump White House, or what is often referred to as the Trump administration's ignorance and incompetence, is most prominently on display, of course, with Donald Trump. In his latest television news interview, the President of the United States proved that his wide-ranging ignorance now extends to things as basic as Photoshop. Trump was asked about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Maryland father who was arrested and deported to El Salvador without due process. The U.S. Supreme Court has ordered Trump to facilitate his return, but Trump refuses to do anything except lie about Garcia.
Even the man that you picked out, he said he wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute
over that. Wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
Oh, he had some tattoos that are interpreted that way.
Here are Garcia's knuckles in a picture photoshopped by right-wing activists and shared by Donald Trump. You can clearly see that MS-13 with its color and type were added into the photograph. Even the White House recently admitted that this was Photoshop, but staffers clearly have not told Trump.
Terry,
he did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshop. So let me
That was Photoshop, Terry. You can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. But I picked you, Terry, but you're not being very nice. He had MS-13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I want to move on to something else.
Terry, do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture. We'll
and you think it was Photoshop? Well,
here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He had MS-13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine, sir.
Terry,
I want to get to Ukraine.
No. He had MS as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news, because
when
it's
he was photographed
news.
in El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go on. They aren't there when he's in El Salvador.
They weren't there, but they're there now, right?
No,
but they're there
in
now.
your picture.
Terry.
Ukraine, sir.
He's got MS-13 on his knuckles.
All right.
Okay?
We'll take a look at that.
You do such a disservice.
We'll take a look at that, sir.
Why don't you just say, yes, he does, and, go on to something else?
It's contested.
Why don't you say, yes, he does, and go on to something else? You know, like all of the people around Trump, including his sycophants in the conservative media and in the Congress. The fact is, as the White House previously acknowledged, Kilmar Abrego Garcia has symbols on his knuckles, but the MS-13 was photoshopped in. Now, that doesn't change whether or not Garcia is or was a member of MS-13, and the White House insists he is part of the gang. But this claim about a tattoo that was not underscores how ridiculous and detached from reality Donald Trump is. And that detachment infects everything he and his staff are involved in, from immigration to constitutional law to the economy. Thankfully, on at least one of the conservative Trump echo chambers, Fox News, there is something of a reprieve. Jessica Tarlov, the lone progressive host on staff at Fox, recently shamed her conservative colleagues on The Five as they evaluated Trump's first 100 days.
The American public knows exactly what's going on, and that's why they're soundly rejecting this administration. He has the lowest approval rating of any president of the last 70 years for the first 100 days. His stock market for the first 100 days is the lowest since Nixon. Unprecedented low foreign policy approval rating and economic approval rating. The American public is smart enough to know that their shelves, if they're not already empty, are going to be empty because of tariffs. 69% say he's not focused enough on lowering prices. 62% focus too much on tariffs. 72% think his policies will cause a recession. 64% disapprove of how he's handling inflation. He continues to beat a drum that is making the absolute worst economic music I have ever heard in my entire life. And yes, he's still above water on deportations, but he's underwater in terms of immigration overall, because the American people also know that due process matters. And that when you have an administration that is acting lawlessly, because people who are here undocumented do actually have a right to go in front of a judge and to have their case heard, that Abrego Garcia should be returned. And then if you want to deport him right back out, that is your prerogative. Take a lesson out of your own playbook and admit that this is going badly. Take the L. The Democrats are up 4 to 7 points on the generic ballot. Do you think that that means that Donald Trump is doing a good job?
Oh, that was a rhetorical question? I just zoned out. I was trying to think of things that are not on the shelves. You said there's empty shelves. What are you talking about?
Change the subject and prove your ignorance. It's the Jesse Waters way, and it's the way of his Lord and Savior, Donald Trump. Thankfully, most Americans are seeing right through it all. And amidst all of the storms, including the economic recession, a growing number of Americans now seem to recognize reality. Donald Trump's incompetence and ignorance are hurting all of us. I'm David Schuster. Thanks for joining us.